Once again, she was going to sleep crying. It was her birthday, but no one had remembered. There were no congratulations, no cake, no presents, not even peace. Birthday is nonsense, Lauren. You're here in my house for another year, and I should be thankful for that. You only give me expenses, there's nothing to celebrate about it, her stepmother had said, as if firing a point-blank shot. Poor Lauren Sullivan. She had already gotten used to the exhausting routine that her stepmother had imposed on her since her father died 5 years ago. But something that night had been different. There wasn't much her stepmother could say to her anymore that would hurt her. But hearing that on her birthday hurt a little more than usual. It wasn't the words that hurt her. It was realizing that no one was coming to save her. For many years she had dreamed that a prince would appear to rescue her and take her away from there, but now she was already 23 years old and had just realized that she was completely alone. No one was coming. Would her life be like this forever? Would she stay hidden at home, carrying everything alone, serving her stepmother and her daughters as if she were their maid? But what about her dreams, the trips she wanted to take, the places she wanted to see, the diploma she dreamed of getting with her name written on it? None of this would come true. What had she done so wrong that at 23 she knew only pain and suffering? That's what she wondered. She took the only portrait she had of her mother and cried even more, thinking about what it would have been like to be raised by a mother who loved her, instead of a cruel woman who humiliated her every day. She hugged her mother's portrait and fell asleep crying quietly, curled up in her narrow bed in a small room. During sleep, she dreamed of her mother. She dreamed of her mother frequently, but they were always memories from when she was a child. Memories where her mother gave her a kiss when she got hurt, made cakes and pies with her, told stories. The few happy memories she had. But that night was different. They weren't memories. "Lauren, dear, I'm sorry, I'm late." Lauren's mother seemed anxious. "Mom?" Lauren asked, confused. "Yes, dear. I was waiting for your cake to be ready. I got lost in the recipe, ended up getting a little tangled up, but I think it turned out good," her mother said with a nervous but gentle smile. "Happy birthday, dear," she said, smiling and calling her to the table to eat the cake. "Mom, is this real? Are you really here?" Lauren said, feeling tears coming. "Of course I am, silly. I'll always be here," she said, hugging Lauren. "Come on, blow out the candles. Make a wish. Today is your birthday, dear. There's something magical about birthdays." Lauren sat behind the cake, closed her eyes, and made her wish. I wish to be happy just once." And then she blew out the candles. "Very good, dear," said Lauren's mother, smiling with tears in her eyes. But suddenly, the image became blurry. "Mom?" Lauren began calling her desperately as she saw her mother's image becoming more and more distant until she disappeared. "Mom, Mom," Tiffany repeated mockingly of Lauren. "Wake up, lazy. I've been calling you for so long and you don't hear me." Was that a dream? Wasn't it real? Lauren asked herself confusedly as she sat up in bed. Her head hurt. That's what happens when you sleep crying. "Come on, get up. It's already 10 o'clock in the morning and coffee isn't ready yet." "You were late dreaming too much," said Tiffany, irritated because she woke up and coffee wasn't ready like every day. When Lauren finished making coffee for Tiffany and Brianna, Margaret called her to her office. This wasn't a good sign. Margaret only called Lauren to the office when she wanted to scold her or impose a new rule. The last time she called her, she took away her cell phone, saying it caused distraction from her tasks. So as she walked toward the office, she was already considering 1,001 terrible news she could receive. "Come in," Margaret called, her voice tense with stress. Lauren found her stepmother surrounded by papers, bills scattered across the mahogany desk like accusations. Margaret looked older than her 48 years, her face pinched with worry lines that no amount of expensive skincare could erase. "Sit down," Margaret ordered, not looking up from a particularly ominous-looking document. "We need to discuss your situation." Lauren sat uncomfortably facing the desk, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. What situation? Your father left you that college fund, didn't he? Before he died. The question hit Lauren like a physical blow. Just remembering made her sad, because one of her dreams was to graduate in literature. But that wasn't possible because the money her father had left for her to pay for college until graduation was used by Margaret to fulfill her own whims and those of her daughters. Yes. And you used it, didn't you? Lauren questioned, feeling the hurt coming to the surface. Margaret finally looked up, her eyes flashing with defensive anger. I used it to keep this family afloat after Robert's death. Do you think money grows on trees? Do you think raising 3 girls is cheap? 2 girls, Lauren corrected her. I've been working since I was 16 to pay my costs to you. Watch your tone with me. Margaret's voice became dangerous. You live in my house, eat my food. Lauren fell silent. She knew she couldn't measure strength with Margaret. I need that money back, Margaret continued. $150,000. I need you to get it back. Lauren looked at her stepmother incredulously. How exactly would I do that? What I earn working at the library cafe would never pay that amount, not even in 3 years. You're going to marry Dr. Logan Fairchild. The name hit Lauren like a bucket of ice water. Everyone in their small town knew the Fairchild name, old money, medical dynasty, untouchable wealth and social status. Lauren had never seen him personally, but she was sure he was an old man in his 80s. She had already heard stories about his cold personality, a real grumpy old man. I'm sorry, what? Lauren said, confused and scared. Margaret leaned back in the leather chair, a calculating look entering her eyes. The Fairchild family is looking for a suitable wife for their son. He's a heart surgeon, heir to a fortune most people can only dream of. And what makes you think he'll want me? Said Lauren, letting out an ironic and disbelieving laugh. He'll marry whoever I tell him to marry, if the price is right. Margaret's smile was sharp as glass. $150,000 for your hand in marriage, plus enough to settle my debts and set up Brianna and Tiffany properly. You want to sell me? I want to solve all our problems with one simple transaction. Logan Fairchild gets a wife who won't embarrass him socially. You get a life of luxury beyond your wildest dreams, and I get the financial security Robert should have provided. Everyone wins. Margaret had a perverse smile. Lauren stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. I won't do it. I won't be sold like property. You'll do it because you have no choice. Margaret's voice turned cold as winter. You have no money, no education, no prospects. You're 23 years old with nothing to your name but the clothes on your back. Clothes I bought, by the way. I'll find another way. I'll work more hours, get a second job. And live where? This house will be foreclosed in 3 months if I don't make the payments. You'll be homeless, Lauren. At least as Mrs. Fairchild, you'll have a roof over your head. The reality of her situation crashed over Lauren like a wave. Margaret was right. She had nothing. No savings, no family to turn to, no options that didn't involve surviving on minimum wage while watching everything her father had built crumble around her. When? Lauren's voice was barely a whisper. I'm meeting with Logan tomorrow to discuss terms. If he agrees, the wedding will be in 2 weeks. Lauren felt the walls of her gilded cage closing in around her. What if he doesn't want me? Margaret's smile returned, predatory and confident. Trust me, darling. Men like Logan Fairchild don't marry for love. They marry for convenience. And you'll be very convenient indeed. Hey, before we continue, let me know in the comments where you're hearing this story from. I love interacting with you in the comments. Logan Fairchild sat in his office with his glass of whiskey. A 28-year-old man, in an imposing, powerful, and dominating pose. He was the type of man who could have anything. Anyone. He was looking at the clock on his desk while thinking about why he had agreed to talk to Margaret Sullivan. But there was something about her proposal that seemed strangely attractive to him. Let's say Dr. Fairchild had somewhat peculiar tastes. Sir? His assistant's voice came through the intercom. Mrs. Margaret Sullivan is here for your 11 o'clock appointment. Logan checked his Rolex, a graduation gift from his grandfather, and suppressed a sigh. Another social climber looking to marry off her daughter to the Fairchild name. His mother had been setting up these meetings for months, determined to see him properly settled before his 30th birthday. "Send her in," he said without moving. Margaret Sullivan entered the office as if she owned it. Logan was good at reading people, and it took only a few seconds to decipher her. Impeccably polished designer shoes, a genuine leather purse with a logo too shiny, a pearl necklace too large for the time of day, and a diamond ring that seemed to want to scream, "Look at me." Everything expensive, but nothing really matching. Logan's mother, for example, would never wear pearls to an 11 o'clock meeting, and she would certainly never dare to combine pointed-toe heels with a wide-strap bag. Margaret understood money, no doubt, but not elegance, and elegance in Logan's world was the line that separated those who were born surrounded by luxury from those who spent their lives chasing after it. In a few seconds, Logan already knew exactly who he was dealing with. "Dr. Fairchild," she began, settling into the leather chair across from his desk without being invited. "Thank you for agreeing to consider my proposal." Logan remained seated in the same position, without moving a single muscle. "My mother convinced me. I'm listening," he said, his eyes analyzing her. "I heard that you're looking for a wife," she said, trying to disguise her anxiety and desperation. "If you're thinking of applying for the position, know that you're a bit old for me," he said, sketching an ironic smile. "Of course." Margaret's smile faltered slightly. "Unfortunately, I don't have that audacity, Mr. Logan," she said, with a forced smile. "But listen, I have two beautiful daughters. I'm sure one of them will interest you. Tiffany and Brianna are lovely girls. I believe you've already met them when I took them to visit your mother. Tiffany, if I'm not mistaken, was the one who said that ending poverty was a matter of mindset. And Brianna, the one who asked if salmon was vegan. Yes, memorable, your daughters," he said with pure irony. "I see that you pay close attention. That's good. It shows that nothing escapes you," Margaret said, trying to turn the situation around. "My girls have always been spontaneous. But I can guarantee they're much more than first impressions suggest," she continued, giving a slight nervous smile. "I'm sorry to disappoint you, Mrs. Sullivan, but your daughters are not within the standard I'm looking for," Logan said, implying that the conversation was over. For a moment, he could feel Margaret's desperation. The woman was a natural bounty hunter. She was willing to make any deal to leave there victorious. That's when she decided to play her low blow. "Dr. Fairchild, I heard that you have somewhat peculiar tastes." For the first time during the conversation, Logan looked at her with some curiosity. "What have you heard about me?" he asked with an air of mystery. "Oh, you know how conversations run in small towns like ours. I heard that you like girls. Obedient," Margaret said as if she were telling a secret. "Margaret, I'm afraid you're confusing me with a gigolo," he said coldly. "But I'm still interested in what you have to say. My time is precious, don't waste it. What do you have to offer me?" "I have a stepdaughter, Lauren. She's 23, beautiful, intelligent, and most importantly, she has no expectations of love or romance. She understands that marriage can be a business arrangement," Margaret said with strange enthusiasm. "Margaret, look at me. Why do you think I need to submit to this?" Logan knew he could have any woman he wanted. Margaret knew it too. But why then was he curious about Lauren? Margaret's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the desperation underneath. "Because she needs an owner. You need a wife who won't complicate your life. And I need money, Mr. Logan. It's mutually beneficial." The words came out so harshly that Logan thought he was negotiating a soul with the devil himself. "Jesus! You talk about her as if she were a—" "Mr. Logan," Margaret interrupted him. "After the girl's father died, things became difficult. She's a good girl, never caused trouble, hard-working, never complains about work. I'm sure she'll satisfy all your tastes, but if you really don't want her, unfortunately I'll have to put the poor thing on the street. You know how it is. She's no longer old enough to live in an orphanage. I'm just a poor widow. I can't support 3 girls anymore. Poor widow? The woman was more like an old devil trying to sell the girl to the first man with enough money to pay the amount she was asking, Logan thought. For a moment he felt sorry for Lauren. Looking into Margaret's malignant eyes, he realized she would be capable of anything to get the money she needed, including auctioning off her own stepdaughter. Lauren was in danger in Margaret's hands, because perhaps not all men with money to pay for this type of dowry would be as friendly with the girl. Perhaps it would be almost a charitable gesture to accept this marriage. He would save her from dangerous and ill-intentioned men, rescue her from Margaret's dirty claws, and still have a facade wife to free him from his family's pressure, while he could continue living his bohemian life through the clubs behind the scenes, as all the high society men he associated with did. Thinking about it, it seemed like a perfect plan. "What are your terms?" he asked. $50,000, plus enough to settle my existing debts. "Call it $200,000 total," Margaret said, displaying a convincing smile of satisfaction. She knew she had played the right card. So the rumors about Dr. Fairchild were real? Margaret wondered this while regretting not having charged more. "You're selling your stepdaughter for $250,000? I'm arranging a marriage that benefits everyone involved." Margaret lifted her chin defiantly. "Lauren gets security and status. You get a wife who won't interfere with your life or career. I get the financial stability to support my daughters." Logan considered this. He'd been avoiding his mother's matchmaking attempts for 2 years, but the pressure was mounting. The board of directors expected their future chairman to be married, stable, respectable. A wife who understood her role without questioning would considerably simplify his life. "I want to meet her first." "Of course. But I should mention, Lauren can be a bit stubborn. She may need some reprimanding sometimes. But if the stories I've heard about you are real, I believe you'll know how to tame her." "That won't be a problem." Logan's smile was sharp as a scalpel. "I can be very persuasive when necessary." "Excellent." Margaret stood, smoothing her skirt with hands that trembled slightly. "Dr. Fairchild, I hope you understand that this arrangement requires discretion. Lauren doesn't know about our agreement yet. She doesn't know you're selling her. She doesn't know that. She'll have to behave, if you know what I mean," Margaret said with a pretentious tone. "She's a good girl, but she's a bit wild, I'd say." Logan nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand why Lauren might be stubborn about this arrangement. "Thank you. I'm sure you'll find that Lauren is everything you're looking for in a wife." After Margaret left, Logan remained at his desk, considering this unexpected development. A marriage of convenience with a woman who had no romantic illusions about their relationship could actually work in his favor. No messy emotions, no expectations he couldn't meet, no risk of the kind of devastating loss that had shaped his cynical view of love. Yes, this could work very well indeed. Alert, prepare to get emotional with the next scene. While you grab your tissues, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. "Let me see that dress of yours," Margaret said nervously to Lauren. "It's a bit wrinkled, but Mr. Logan won't mind," she said, while quickly running her hands over Lauren's dress. "Remember the adult women's conversation we had, dear. Do everything Mr. Logan desires. Be gentle, polite, as I taught you. Obey him, Lauren," she continued. "Obey," Lauren murmured with disdain. Margaret stopped smoothing Lauren's dress, stood in front of her, staring at her for a few seconds. There was anger and even disgust burning in her eyes. "How petulant you are, exactly like your mother was," she said while slowly shaking her head in negation. Then, as if in an impulse, with the hand wearing a heavy ring, she slapped Lauren's face, who staggered back, surprised and disoriented. "Don't challenge me, Lauren. You don't know what I'm capable of." Her voice was extremely low but fierce. "You need to do everything Mr. Logan wants. Whatever he asks, you will do," Margaret said, slowly advancing toward Lauren, who was walking backwards. "And if he wants to command you, yes, you will obey." Our lives depend on this business. If you're foolish enough to make him reject you, don't even bother coming back to this house, she said with a contained voice, suppressing all the rage she had for Lauren. It was as if Lauren had been a burden she'd endured for years, a stone in her shoe, and now she was about to get rid of her forever. She felt anxiety mixed with nervousness, inexplicably, and wouldn't let anyone ruin this, not even Lauren. This wasn't just about money. There was something more. Lauren didn't know why Margaret felt so much hatred for her, but she knew she did. This time, Lauren couldn't hold back the tears. Normally, she always refused to let them fall in Margaret's presence. But this time poor Lauren couldn't hold back. The tears began to flow in a way she couldn't control. Running her fingers over her lips, she noticed some red drops. Margaret had caused her every kind of humiliation, but had never hit her before. Realizing what she had done, Margaret put her mask back on. "Lauren, dear, it was nothing. It was nothing. Take this tissue, dry your mouth," Margaret said, trying to calm Lauren with false and exaggerated sweetness. "Everything will be fine, dear. Everything will be fine. Forgive me for this. I don't know what came over me, Lauren. You know I never did this. I'm just very nervous." Margaret spoke desperately. But don't be fooled. The witch didn't care about Lauren at all. She just didn't want her to arrive at the meeting with a crying face, smudged makeup, and injured lips. After all, what would Mr. Logan think of her? That she kept the girl in captivity? No, that definitely couldn't happen. So it was better to pretend she cared about Lauren's well-being to see if she'd stop crying and behave as she wanted. "Oh dear, stop crying, everything will be fine. You can do it. Mr. Logan isn't as bad as the rumors say," she continued. "I met him personally. He promised me he'd be careful with you," Margaret said with a false smile that conveyed more nervousness than comfort. "I'm sorry. Mrs. Sullivan, I can't stop crying." Years of repressed tears that were never shed seemed to flow there involuntarily. Then the old witch decided to play another of her diabolical cards. "Lauren, dear, look at me," she said with a sweet smile and calm voice while gently lifting Lauren's chin. "It's all right." "What?" Lauren asked, confused, trying to catch her breath after sobbing non-stop. "It's all right, dear. If you don't even want to meet Mr. Logan, I'll call him right now and say we're withdrawing from the proposal," Margaret said with strange animation. "I'll tell him you're not feeling well, and maybe I can send Tiffany or Brianna in your place." She gave a sympathetic smile. Margaret began dialing numbers on her cell phone. "Come on, Lauren. This is your chance to escape Margaret's claws. No matter how arrogant Mr. Logan might be, he's certainly better to live with than spending one more day with this witch in this snake pit." No, wait," Lauren said, desperately interrupting Margaret. "That won't be necessary. I'll go. I'll go to the meeting to meet Mr. Logan. I'll be obedient. I'll do what he asks. I'll also be gentle and polite as you told me to be," Lauren said, composing herself. "Great, dear. Good girl," Margaret said, squeezing Lauren's cheeks while smiling, her eyes gleaming like dollar signs. "I knew you were smart. Now go wash your face. Mr. Logan's driver arrives in 5 minutes, and you can't go like this with smudged makeup. Maybe he'll even prefer you without makeup," she said excitedly, as if she'd just won a lottery ticket. Then a dark car stopped at the door. "Oh, the driver's here, dear. Go, hurry," Margaret said, pushing Lauren outside and compulsively waving at the car, which gave her no response. Lauren immediately opened the back door and got in to sit. "Oh, you must be Lauren," said the driver. "Please, sit here in the front seat." Lauren was ready to question with her sharp tongue, but quickly remembered what her stepmother had told her. Just do what they tell you, and don't say anything unless asked. When she sat in the passenger seat and turned to greet the driver, she couldn't help but notice that he was a young and extremely handsome man, perhaps the most handsome man Lauren had ever seen, which was strange for a driver. His clothes also didn't match the profession, as he wasn't wearing a uniform. He wore a black polo shirt. Maybe Mr. Logan allowed employees to dress more casually at the end of their shift. That's what Lauren thought. "You don't seem very happy, Lauren." "Aren't you excited?" the driver asked, glancing at her. "How could I be? It seems like I signed my death sentence going to meet some old pervert I'll be forced to marry." She blurted out without thinking. "Old pervert?" the driver asked, laughing uncontrollably. "Sorry, I didn't mean to speak that way about your boss. It's just that—" "Oh yes, my boss. Yes, I understand," he said, still smiling but now returning to normal. Actually, Lauren couldn't help but notice how beautiful his smile was. "Tell me, what else have you been hearing about my boss, Mr. Logan Fairchild? Maybe I can give you some useful advice about him." "I heard terrible things about him," she said, still shy but opening up a little more. Something about this man made her feel comfortable. He didn't seem like the type who would report what she said to Mr. Logan. "My stepmother had a conversation with me that she called an adult women's conversation. She told me absolutely disgusting things and said that whatever Mr. Logan asked me, I should obey. So I suppose he's a perverted man." "Margaret Sullivan, that old devil really has no salvation," he said so low it seemed like he was talking to himself. Lauren let out a sincere, deep laugh. It was fun to hear someone talk about her stepmother like that, who had always been so cruel to her. He looked at her with a certain enchantment upon hearing the sound of her laughter. "Do you know her?" she said when she finally managed to stop laughing. "Unfortunately, yes. She goes from time to time to Mr. Logan's mother trying to sell one of her daughters to him. You should see how pathetic she looks doing it." She laughed again and then asked, "Why do you think he never accepted?" "Brianna and Tiffany, are you kidding?" he said with gentle indignation. "Come on. Tiffany only has 2 neurons and she shares one of them with Brianna." Lauren couldn't contain herself and burst out laughing again. She laughed until she was breathless. What a strange thing. It had been so long since Lauren had heard the sound of her own laughter. When she finally recovered, she asked, "But what about me? Mr. Logan has never seen me, doesn't know me. Why do you think he wanted to meet me?" "It's hard to say what goes through Mr. Logan's head. He's a man full of surprises. Sometimes even I don't understand him," he said deeply and thoughtfully. "But tell me, you said you deduced that Mr. Logan is a perverted man, a real old predator. Why did you agree to go on a date with him then? Don't you feel afraid? Doesn't he scare you?" he asked, intrigued and genuinely curious. Lauren shrugged. "Margaret thought I was confronting her and slapped me in the face. It hurt me. Not my lips, which started bleeding, but my soul. I always held back my tears, didn't want to seem weak. But I confess that was a bit too much for me. So all the crying I held back for so many years seemed to come all at once, and I couldn't hold it anymore." He looked at her in silence. There was compassion in his gaze. Then she continued, "I was going to give up, but then it was like I heard a voice telling me it was my chance to escape from there, to escape from her. Maybe it was my inner voice. So I thought, you know what? What could be worse than this? Maybe old Logan would be more pleasant company than Margaret Sullivan." "Fair enough," he said, pausing. "I'm sorry you went through all that. Mr. Logan is a difficult man, I won't lie. But I guarantee he doesn't come close to Margaret Sullivan." "What is he like?" she asked curiously. "Grumpy most of the time, that's true," he said, sketching a laugh. "But he knows how to treat well those he perceives to have a good heart and good intentions," he said, looking at Lauren. Their eyes met and shone equally for each other. "I think you two will get along well, and, if this reassures you, Mr. Logan isn't any predator like you're thinking. He may have some peculiar tastes, but he certainly won't do anything you don't want first," he said with a slight smile. Lauren felt her face flush. "Honestly, I hope he doesn't want anything with me." "Lauren," he said, parking the car, stopping and looking seriously at her, and this time there was no playful tone in his voice. "You are very beautiful and attractive. Mr. Logan will certainly want to do many things with you, but nothing you don't want first," he said, looking into her eyes while Lauren turned red as a pepper. That's definitely something you'll never have to worry about. Mr. Logan has his issues, but he definitely won't force you into anything. Not even to marry him, if you don't want to. Although Lauren had blushed at the words and tone of voice of that driver, something about his manner reassured her. She wasn't ashamed of him, and he made her comfortable. As they got out of the car, Lauren reprimanded herself for thinking that the two of them could be good friends or good lovers. Oh, heavens. She barely knew this apparently friendly driver. She shouldn't be thinking such things. Although he had an imposing posture that made her feel safe, a good smell of woody perfume that stirred her senses, and a friendly way of talking, it was too early for her to have such sinful thoughts about a man she'd just met, even though he was extremely handsome. "Where are we? And where is Mr. Logan?" Lauren asked curiously as they walked through a park at sunset. "This is a park near the Fairchild mansion. I like to come here when I need to think, or when I need some peace and privacy." "What about Mr. Logan?" she asked, stopping walking and looking at him. "Oh yes, I was about to forget." He stopped and faced Lauren. "Lauren, I am Mr. Logan Fairchild, but you can just call me Logan," he said seriously, but still friendly. Lauren's mouth dropped open, and she sketched a smile. "Oh my God, and you let me say all those things about Mr. Fairchild without knowing he was you?" she questioned, laughing. "I don't have a fragile ego, and I confess it was funny to see you believing I was an old pervert." "I don't know what to do with all the shame I'm feeling now," she said, somewhat embarrassed. "It's all right, Lauren. At least you were able to laugh a little," he said, looking into her eyes. "Logan, it doesn't make sense," she said, becoming serious. "Is this some kind of joke?" she asked without understanding. "I mean, why would a man like you choose to marry by contract with a woman like me? Let's say I have my own reasons, but we can summarize it to the fact that I need a wife and all the women in my social circle only think about money, designer bags, and shoes. They have no essence, understand? No personality of their own. Sometimes it's boring being surrounded by people who only tell you what you want to hear because they have some interest in what you have to offer. Actually, I don't know what that's like. I've never had someone tell me what I wanted to hear out of interest in something I have to offer," she said. "I know it may not seem like it, but you were lucky. That was good for you. It sucks having people flattering you all the time just waiting for money or favors." He paused in their walk and looked at her again. He looked deep into her eyes and saw a certain purity. He knew Lauren was incapable of hurting someone. Even with so much suffering, she continued to have a good heart, and this awakened something Logan hadn't felt in a long time. Logan felt the urge to take care of Lauren, to take her for himself. As he ran his finger over the wound on Lauren's lips, something activated his protective instinct, and right there, without her knowing, he had already decided he would protect her as long as he lived, and nothing would stand in his way. They spent a good part of the night talking and having good laughs, until Logan said, "Lauren, it's getting late. I better take you home." She nodded, but with a certain sadness at having to return. "Lauren," he said, looking at her, "what have you decided?" "Is this like a marriage proposal?" she asked. "Do you want it to be?" he asked. "Logan," she said, taking his hand, "I don't want to go home. I don't want to sleep one more night in the same house as Margaret." "All right, we can do it like this," he said, agreeing with her. As soon as they arrived at Margaret's house, she immediately appeared as if she'd been lying in wait, watching for when they would arrive. "Oh, I see the lovebirds liked each other. I hope you enjoyed the night," she said, giving them a suggestive smile. Lauren walked right past her without even looking at Margaret, went upstairs to get some of her belongings, like her mother's photo. Something curious about Logan was that he knew very well what each person deserved from him. While Lauren deserved his care and compassion, Margaret deserved his brutal force. Then Logan leaned toward Margaret, almost as if he were going to tell her a secret. "So there you are, you old devil." There was a danger warning in his voice. Logan also knew how to be a bad man. "What is this, Logan? Is this any way to talk to your new mother-in-law?" she said indignantly, as if demanding respect. "To you, it's Mr. Fairchild," he said, staring at her closely. "I saw what you did to Lauren. Her mouth is hurt." "Mr. Fairchild, of course. Forgive me for the inconvenience. It was an accident." "I already apologized to the girl," she said nervously. "It seems Margaret Sullivan wasn't so brave now, was she?" Margaret. You know I don't like people touching what's mine. Tomorrow you'll go to my office and collect your change from my assistant and disappear from my sight. I don't want to see you or even hear your voice. And as for Lauren, if I know or even imagine you're doing something to her, I'll put you in your place faster than you can imagine. Do you understand me?" He didn't get excited, didn't shout, didn't even speak loudly. On the contrary, his voice was so calm it seemed mortally dangerous. Margaret nodded with a look of terror and panic. After all, who was Logan to cause so much fear in Margaret? She realized that maybe Logan had secrets she didn't know about, and perhaps it was better not to search too much. Lauren woke up in the most comfortable bed she had ever slept in. Logan had given her the best guest suite in his mansion, second only to his own master bedroom, of course. An enormous room decorated in navy blue, white, and gold tones. It looked nothing like the tiny attic where Margaret had shoved a bed and called it Lauren's room. When Lauren got up, it was still 5 a.m. It was the time she was accustomed to waking up when she lived with Margaret and her daughters. Lauren put on the clothes that Martha, the head housekeeper, had laid out for her. Something light, beautiful, and casual. It felt strange for Lauren because she couldn't even remember the last time someone had bought clothes specifically for her. Usually she wore Brianna and Tiffany's hand-me-downs when they were already too worn out or when the girls simply didn't want them anymore. Margaret always said that clothes were an unnecessary expense, which was ironic since a good portion of the money Lauren's father had left for her education was spent on expensive clothes. Just not for her, of course. Lauren walked carefully through the mansion's hallways, trying to remember where the kitchen was. Since it was so early, she didn't want to disturb anyone. That's when she started her routine. Lauren began preparing breakfast for herself, Logan, Martha, and all the other household staff. She fried eggs with bacon, squeezed fresh oranges for juice, and baked a delicious chocolate cake. She picked some flowers from the garden and arranged them in an empty vase she found in the kitchen. When she was almost finished setting the table for everyone, it was already 7:30 a.m. Martha came in carrying a bucket of water, and when she found Lauren in the kitchen, she got such a shock that she dropped the bucket on the floor, water spilling everywhere. Lauren jumped too. "Mrs. Fairchild!" Martha gasped in horror. "What? What are you doing here so early?" Martha asked, while staring at the table full of delicious things Lauren had prepared. "Oh, I'm sorry, Martha. I just made breakfast, like I do every day." "I hope I didn't do anything wrong," Lauren said, shrinking back and expecting to be scolded. Scolded? Lauren still didn't understand what it meant to be a Fairchild. Certainly no one in this house could scold her except, "Is everything all right in here?" Logan appeared in the kitchen, already properly dressed in his expensive suit, handsome as always. "Mr. Fairchild, I'm so sorry," Martha said desperately. "I was coming into the kitchen to start my duties, but I found Mrs. Fairchild here cooking. There was an expression of amazement on Martha's face. "It's fine, Martha," Logan said with a polite smile. "Lauren, could you come to my office with me, please?" "Oh, yes, of course," Lauren said as she left, embarrassed and awkward. "I'm sorry about this, Martha," she said, before leaving the kitchen. When Lauren entered the office, Logan was already seated in his chair behind the desk, studying her carefully. "Lauren," he said, looking at her as if trying to figure her out. "What were you doing?" he asked curiously. "I was just making breakfast for us and your staff," she said, trying to justify herself. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked with a guilty expression. No, not at all," Logan said gently. "It's just that in 3 generations of Fairchilds, this is the first time I've seen a Mrs. Fairchild doing anything in the kitchen other than giving orders or approving seasonings." He looked at her thoughtfully. "Lauren, you're not in Margaret's clutches anymore. You don't need to worry about household chores anymore." Lauren looked confused. "But what am I going to do all day then?" she said, tilting her head slightly to the side, genuinely curious. Logan stood up from his chair and walked over to her, stopping very close. There was something about Lauren's vulnerability that awakened all his protective instincts. She was the perfect contrast to him. After all, a man who exuded masculinity like Logan needed someone to care for and protect. It was the natural order of life. "Lauren," he said, lifting her chin with his fingers so she would look directly into his eyes. "You're going to live. Simply live." "I don't understand," she whispered, feeling her heart race with his closeness. "When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to? When was the last time you chose what to eat for breakfast, or what clothes to wear, or simply decided to stay in bed later because you felt like it?" Lauren was silent for a moment, trying to remember. The truth was that she couldn't remember a single time when she had done something simply because she wanted to. I don't know," she admitted, her eyes welling up. Logan felt a wave of anger surge through his body, not at Lauren, but at Margaret and all the suffering she had caused this woman in front of him. He had known many women in his life, but none awakened in him this primitive need to protect and possess at the same time. "Then let's start now," he said, still holding her face. "What would you like to do today?" he said with a gentle smile. I don't know," she repeated, looking lost. "That's okay. Then I'll decide for you, until you learn to decide for yourself," Logan said with a gentle firmness that made Lauren feel a shiver run down her spine. She had spent so many years suffering humiliation and being forced to do all kinds of exhausting and heavy housework, that hearing from a man like him that she could simply rest made her feel butterflies in her stomach. "First, you're going to go back to the kitchen and sit at the table while Martha serves the breakfast you prepared. You won't wash a dish. You won't clean anything. You'll just eat and enjoy what you made." "But Logan," she whispered. The idea of being served seemed wrong to her since she grew up serving others, and Logan knew this. "Obey me, Lauren," he said calmly and compassionately, almost like a whisper, while gently stroking her lips with his thumb. "After breakfast, you're going to choose 3 things from the library that you'd like to read, and then you're going to sit in the garden or on the living room sofa or wherever you want and read for as long as you feel like it." Lauren looked at him as if he were speaking another language. "What if I don't know what to choose?" "Then I'll choose for you," Logan replied without hesitation. "My job now is to take care of you, Lauren, and part of that is teaching you that you deserve to be happy." Something in Lauren's chest warmed at these words. No one had ever spoken to her this way. Lauren didn't know what it was like to be cared for, loved, and protected. "Logan," she said softly, "I don't know how to be happy." "Then I'll teach you," he replied calmly, not looking away from her eyes, and there was a promise in his voice that made Lauren's heart race. "Step by step, day by day. You don't have to carry the world on your shoulders anymore, Lauren. Let me carry it for you." He leaned in and gently kissed her forehead. Lauren could feel for the first time what it was like to be cared for. "Come now," Logan said, offering his arm to her. "Let's have breakfast together. And Lauren?" "Yes? From today on, the only person you answer to is me, and I only want one thing from you." "What?" she asked, curious and a little nervous. "For you to be happy," he said simply. "That's the only order I'll ever give you." When they returned to the kitchen, Martha had arranged everything perfectly. She served Lauren as if she were a queen, and for the first time in her life, Lauren felt like one. Logan sat beside her, occasionally putting more food on her plate or pouring her more juice, small gestures that meant the world to Lauren. "This is delicious," Logan said, tasting the cake she had made. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "My mother taught me when I was little," Lauren replied, a nostalgic smile crossing her face. "Those were the only moments when it was just the 2 of us. She would be very proud of you, Logan said, watching how Lauren's face lit up at the memory of her mother. After breakfast, Logan kept his promise. He took her to the library, a majestic room with floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with books of every imaginable genre. Lauren was speechless. "Choose 3, Logan said, positioning himself behind her. Lauren walked slowly through the stacks, running her fingers along the book spines. It was like being in a literary wonderland. Finally, she chose a classic novel, a book of poetry, and one about art history. "Good choice," Logan approved. "Now, where would you like to read?" Lauren looked through the library window and saw the garden bathed in morning sunlight. "In the garden," she said shyly. "Perfect," Logan smiled. "Martha will bring you a cushion and something to drink. I have some meetings today, but I'll be back for lunch." He approached her again, and Lauren felt her heart speed up. Logan raised his hand and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Lauren," he said, his voice low and intense. "You're with me now. That means no one else can hurt you. It means you're safe. It means you're free to discover who you really are, away from Margaret and anyone who has hurt you in any way." "And what does that mean for you?" she asked, mesmerized by his gaze. "It means I'll do anything to protect you, anything to see you smile, anything to make sure you never feel alone again," Logan replied, and there was an intensity in his voice that made Lauren tremble. "Logan, shh." He placed a finger on her lips. "You don't need to say anything now. You just need to trust me. Can you do that?" Lauren nodded, unable to form words. "Good girl," Logan said, and something about the way he said it made Lauren's stomach flip. "Now go read. I want to find you relaxed and happy when I get back." He kissed her hand before leaving Lauren alone with her heart beating like a drum. She looked at the books in her hands and then at the garden waiting for her. And for the first time in her life, Lauren Sullivan, now Logan Fairchild, felt something she had forgotten existed: hope. When she settled in the garden, with a soft cushion beneath her and a glass of cold lemonade beside her, Lauren opened the first book and realized that words had never seemed so clear, so full of promise. Lauren decided to explore the Fairchild mansion a bit more, starting with her own room. There was an enormous walk-in closet, with clothes for all occasions that Logan had ordered for her. So Lauren began trying on various outfits, just for fun, and even enjoyed seeing herself wearing beautiful clothes. But there was a part of her closet that was locked. This made Lauren extremely curious. Had they forgotten to unlock it? Was there something there she wasn't supposed to see? A secret. Lauren, with all her adventurous spirit, went to find out. "Martha," Lauren said with a curious tone, "there's a door in my closet that's locked. Do you know where the key is?" Martha became noticeably nervous. "Oh, the key. Well, Mrs. Fairchild, Mr. Logan has it." "What's in there, Martha, do you know?" Lauren asked, becoming increasingly intrigued. Martha was a woman of about 50, kind yet funny, always living on alert. "No. I mean, yes. But it's better if you ask Mr. Logan, dear," Martha said with the air of someone who didn't want to get involved in the boss's affairs. "All right, Martha," Lauren said, leaving the kitchen and heading straight to Logan's office. He was sitting thoughtfully. His mind seemed to be elsewhere, but when he saw Lauren entering discreetly, his expression brightened. In the past few weeks, he had discovered that whenever she appeared, she brought some good surprise or told him about one of her new discoveries that left him even more fascinated by her. "Logan," she sat across from him, "I was exploring my closet and found a locked door. What's behind it? Could you give me the key?" Logan looked away from her with a sideways smile while sipping his whiskey. Lauren couldn't help but notice that when Logan drank his whiskey, he became even more relaxed, attractive. "Curious, aren't you?" he said, swirling the glass between his fingers, watching her with that penetrating gaze that always made her heart race. "You know I am," she replied, leaning slightly forward. "So, Are you going to tell me or leave me dying of curiosity? Logan stood up slowly, walking around the desk until he was standing beside her chair. He placed his hands on the armrests, trapping her between his arms, and leaned in until their faces were dangerously close. Some curiosities, he murmured, his voice low and husky, can lead to discoveries that change everything. Lauren felt her breath catch. His proximity, the scent of cologne mixed with whiskey, the intensity of those dark eyes fixed on hers, all of it made her body react in ways she was just beginning to understand. "Logan," she whispered, unable to look away. "Are you sure you're ready to know what's behind that door, Lauren?" He raised one hand and gently ran his thumb over her lower lip. "Because once you know, there's no going back." Lauren's heart was beating so hard she was sure he could hear it. "I'm ready," she said, surprised by the firmness of her own voice. Logan smiled, a slow, predatory smile that made something contract in her lower belly. "Then come with me." He offered his hand to her, and when Lauren accepted it, he pulled her up, keeping her close to his body for a moment before starting to walk toward her room. In the closet, Logan stopped in front of the locked door and took a small golden key from his pocket. Before opening it, he turned to her. Logan turned the key in the lock and opened the door. Lauren was speechless. The small space was illuminated by a soft, golden light, and the walls were lined with black velvet. There were shelves with lingerie of the most varied kinds, some elegant and sensual in silk and lace, others more daring and provocative. Venetian masquerade masks decorated one wall, along with some other items that Lauren couldn't completely identify, but which made her face heat up. "Logan," she murmured, feeling her cheeks flush. "There's nothing here to be ashamed of," he said, positioning himself behind her and placing his hands on her shoulders. "There's only beauty, pleasure, and possibilities." Lauren turned to face him, and Logan saw that there was no shame in her eyes. There was curiosity, excitement, and something deeper that made his blood boil. "I want you to choose one," he said, his voice heavy with contained desire. "Choose the one that catches your attention most, and wear it for me." Lauren walked slowly through the small space, her fingers delicately passing over the silks and laces. Finally, she stopped in front of a piece that left her mesmerized, a white nightgown, almost transparent, with lace details that would barely cover the essentials. "This one," she said, taking the piece from the hanger and turning to Logan. His eyes darkened dangerously. "Perfect choice." Logan left the closet, giving her privacy to change. When Lauren appeared in the doorway a few minutes later, he felt as if all the air had been sucked from his lungs. The nightgown accentuated every curve of her body, the transparent fabric revealing and hiding at the same time in a way that was absolutely maddening. Lauren was blushing, but there was a new confidence in her posture, as if she were finally discovering her own power. "Lauren," Logan whispered, walking slowly toward her. "You have no idea what you do to me." He pulled her to him, his hands finding her waist as he pressed her against his body. Lauren could feel the tension in him, the barely contained desire that made his muscles rigid. "Logan," she whispered, raising her face to him. He couldn't contain himself anymore. Logan kissed her with a passion that bordered on desperation, as if she were the air he needed to breathe. His hands roamed her body over the fine fabric, drawing small moans that drove him crazy. "Lauren," he murmured against her lips, interrupting the kiss just enough to speak. "You make me completely lose control." Between breathless sighs, Lauren looked into his eyes. "Logan, I want you to do that again. I want you to do it like you did last time. Again." You might be wondering when this had happened before. Well, let's say that Lauren had begun frequenting Logan's office with a certain frequency. They would spend hours and hours talking about surgeries, Logan's patients, Lauren's discoveries while he was away. One of Lauren's discoveries was that she had tried wine in the kitchen and liked it. So she began accompanying Logan in his office, drinking a little wine while he drank his good old whiskey. Not that he needed alcohol to feel attracted to Lauren, but Lauren became more uninhibited with a few glasses of wine. And Logan, well, Logan loved seeing her like that. Relaxed, laughing more easily, asking curious questions about his life, leaning closer to him when he told some interesting story. It was on one of those nights that it happened for the first time. Lauren was telling him about a book she had read, gesticulating animatedly with her glass in hand, when she spilled a few drops of wine on her dress. Logan offered to help her clean it, and when he bent down with a handkerchief to dry the fabric near her neckline, the proximity became electrifying. Their eyes met, and Logan saw something different in Lauren's gaze, a burning curiosity, a desire she herself was discovering. When he gently ran his thumb over her skin to clean a stray drop, Lauren sighed softly, a sound that made all of Logan's self-control waver. "Lauren," he had murmured, his voice hoarse. "Don't stop," she whispered back, surprising them both with her boldness. And he didn't stop. That night, Logan had delicately explored something in Lauren, teaching her about pleasures she didn't even know existed, always attentive to her reactions, always making sure she was comfortable. They were moments of mutual discovery. Logan discovering how patient he could be, Lauren discovering that her body was capable of sensations that left her breathless. Since then, these sessions in the office had become more frequent, more intimate. Logan proved to be a patient and dedicated teacher, and Lauren a more than willing student. Logan felt all his self-control being tested. He approached her slowly, his hands finding her waist over the fine fabric of the nightgown. The tension between them was palpable, electric. "Lauren," he murmured, his voice heavy with contained desire. "You have no idea of the effect you have on me." She raised her face to him, her eyes shining with a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. Logan tilted his head, bringing his lips close to hers, when a loud voice echoed from outside the room. "Mr. Fairchild! Mr. Fairchild!" Martha shouted. "There's a phone call for you. They said it's urgent." Logan stopped abruptly, an expression of pure frustration crossing his face. "I'm busy right now, I can't answer," he shouted back. "But sir, the person insisted a lot. They said it was about family." Lauren, still breathless, placed her hand on his chest. "Go, Logan. It might be important." "I don't want to leave you like this," he said, looking at her with desire and concern mixed together. "It's okay," she smiled, still flushed. "We'll continue later." Logan kissed her forehead tenderly. "I'll be back in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere." He got up reluctantly and left the room. Lauren lay on the bed, still feeling the effects of his caresses, a mixture of frustration and anticipation running through her veins. In the office, Logan answered the phone with barely disguised irritation. "Hello?" "Logan, darling, it's Courtney." His cousin's voice sounded too cheerful for his taste. "Courtney," Logan said coldly. "What do you want?" "Oh, how cold. Listen, I need a huge favor. I'm going to start a treatment near you and need to stay at your house for a few weeks. Can you take me in?" "No," Logan replied without hesitation. "Logan, please, I really need—" Logan hung up. Before he could move away from the phone, his mother called. "Logan, son, you need to help Courtney. She really needs this treatment, and your family." Logan ran his hand through his hair, frustrated. He knew very well what kind of person Courtney was. The last thing he wanted was to have to deal with her right now, when things with Lauren were developing so perfectly. "Mom." "Please, Logan. It's just for a few weeks. Do this for me." After 10 more minutes of his mother's pleas, Logan finally gave in. "Fine, but it's only 2 weeks. No more than that." "Thank you, darling. She'll arrive tomorrow." Logan hung up the phone and returned to the room where he found Lauren sleeping like a baby. Logan even considered waking her so they could continue, but she seemed to be sleeping so peacefully that he thought it better to let her rest. Logan chuckled softly, looking at her, but in the back of his mind a worry began to form. He knew Courtney, and knew she had a special ability to complicate everything around her. He just hoped she wouldn't try to interfere with what he was building with Lauren, because now that he had found his girl, nothing and no one would take her away from him. Courtney Blake was everything Lauren wasn't: sophisticated, confident, and completely at home in Logan's world. She had grown up in boarding schools and country clubs, spoke 4 languages fluently, and had the kind of effortless elegance that money couldn't buy. She had been in the house for a week and was making Lauren's life hell. "Oh my God," Martha exclaimed upon seeing Courtney coming down for breakfast wearing only a nightgown that was far too sheer. She walked around the house as if she were the owner returning from a long trip and was simply reclaiming a place that was hers. When she came to sit at the table, Lauren looked her up and down. Martha stared at her in horror, as if she were seeing the devil himself in front of her. "Good morning, Lauren," Courtney said without looking at her, with her nose in the air and a defiant tone. "Courtney, I think I need to remind you that you're not in your own house," Lauren said without raising her voice, coldly. It seemed she was learning to be a bit like her husband. "And am I in yours?" Courtney said, while pouring herself a glass of juice. "Lauren, we all know that this marriage of yours to my cousin Logan is nothing but a big charade, but don't worry about my nightgown. I know Logan left early today and won't be here for breakfast." Lauren placed her elbows on the table while observing Courtney. Lauren had changed a lot in recent months. She was no longer subservient. Gradually, Logan had taught her to be a bit like him, and she had become an excellent student. During the hours Lauren spent in the library, she had begun reading Logan's favorite books. One of them was called The Art of War, and Lauren was certainly at war now. She had even tried to be a good hostess. She had her staff change the entire week's menu to accommodate Courtney's gluten-free diet restrictions, hired a nurse to help her with her medications, made her driver available so Courtney could go wherever she needed. But Lauren had learned an important lesson. When you bring pigs into the castle, they don't become kings. The castle becomes a pigsty. Courtney had gradually dropped the mask of a helpless victim who needed help from her rich cousin to access her treatment, showing her claws and revealing her true intentions. She began testing all of Lauren's limits. She started bossing around Lauren's staff, asking them to cook exclusive recipes for her. One day, Lauren found Martha crying because Courtney had treated her very badly. The driver Lauren had lent her for medical appointments was suddenly being used to take her shopping, to parties, lunches with her friends. Lauren had been enduring a lot and being nice, but that was about to change. "Courtney, go upstairs and change your clothes. You're not in your own house." There was no anger in Lauren's voice. There was power. "Lauren, darling, stop being ridiculous," Courtney said mockingly, like a spoiled teenager. "Are you afraid Logan will walk through that door and see me like this? I have nothing to hide from him here. Logan has seen me in much less than this nightgown many, many times," Courtney said provocatively. She had been trying for days to get a rise out of Lauren with this kind of provocation, but in vain. Lauren showed no expression other than indifference. That's when she decided to play her card. "How is it when he sleeps with you, Lauren?" Courtney said, looking at Lauren for the first time since sitting down for breakfast. "Logan and I have had many wild nights. Yesterday when I went to his office to talk about my treatment, I have to confess I felt heat rising between my legs when I saw him sitting in that chair like a king on his throne. While he spoke, I remembered when we used to adventure together through the rooms of this house. Logan would leave my hair completely disheveled. We looked like 2 wild animals," she said with an excited laugh. "You don't have the way to act uninhibited like that, Lauren. Logan likes good girls, but only until he gets tired of them. What he really likes are women who know how to do it. You seem boring. He'll get tired of you soon. Just warning you." Lauren continued looking at Courtney without any expression. It seemed like a complete waste of time to respond to this provocation, until she remembered something interesting that Logan had said to her in one of their conversations. "Lauren, If you keep feeding the rats because you feel sorry for them, they always come back wanting more, until one day, the house is no longer yours, but the rats. We don't give food to rats. We give poison to rats, or we beat them to death," Logan would say to her with his usual ironic smile. "Martha, where is my gluten-free bread?" Courtney said normally, as if she hadn't just said the worst atrocity she could have said to Lauren a minute earlier. "Oh, sorry, Miss Courtney, I'll get it," Martha said nervously, like someone who always lives on alert. "You need to better instruct these employees of yours, Lauren. They're always forgetting things," Courtney said mockingly. Martha was turning to leave hurriedly. Until... "Martha." Lauren called her neutrally. Martha turned to her. "Don't bring anything. Serve the gluten-free bread to my dogs," Lauren said without moving from her place. "What is this, Lauren?" For the first time, Lauren had seen something on Courtney's face that wasn't sarcasm, mockery, or irony. Lauren continued, "Martha, ask someone to clear the table. Breakfast has just ended." Martha nodded with a slight smile while looking proudly at her employer. "Lauren, are you crazy? I haven't eaten anything yet," Courtney protested. "If you hadn't wasted time talking nonsense, you would have had time to eat," Lauren said while standing up and placing both hands on the table, leaning toward Courtney. "You're not in your own house. You're in my house, and in my house there are rules. There's a time to start breakfast and also to end it. And there are also appropriate clothes to sit at the table, and you're certainly not wearing them. But if you want to continue sitting here, tomorrow I expect to find you wearing something other than a transparent nightgown." The snake Courtney was caught by surprise. She had certainly misjudged Lauren. "Martha," Lauren continued, "starting tomorrow, the menu returns to normal. What Mr. Logan and I usually eat will be served." She then turned back to Courtney. "If Miss Courtney wants to eat something gluten-free, she'll prepare it herself, and Courtney, my staff will no longer serve you. You'll wash your own clothes, make your own bed, manage your own medications. If you need to go out, there's a bus stop 2 blocks from here. My driver won't take you anywhere." "Have you lost your mind, Lauren?" "Maybe I have, Courtney, but just as you made sure to remember the moments when my husband was distracted with you until he found the woman he wanted to marry, I want you to also remember that you're not at a vacation colony, nor at a spa, much less at a hotel. Here we all have functions, and you'll have one too. Martha will guide you on how to take care of the garden. It's good for you to have some distraction, so there won't be time left to fill your head with nonsense." Lauren had just dropped a bomb with the most cordial tone in the world. Courtney was left speechless, but you could see the desperation on her face. "Who do you think you are to do this, Lauren? I just want to see what Logan will say when he finds out what you're doing to me," she said with feigned tears. "Oh, Courtney, don't take me wrong. I just can't let you feel so comfortable disrespecting me in my own house. As for Mr. Logan's reaction, don't worry. I'm going to take him to the bedroom tonight, and when he sees the new lingerie I bought, he won't even remember you're in this house, and I'm sure that if you interrupt us, he won't be happy with you." Lauren approached her and said, "And as for who I am Mrs. Fairchild." Lauren left. Courtney stared in shock, and Martha gave a little smile while looking over her glasses, proud of her employer. Lauren really wasn't the same anymore. Logan came home almost desperately. Lauren had sent him a photo of how she was waiting for him in the bedroom with a glass of wine in hand, and the man went crazy. While he was running up the stairs, Courtney called him. "Logan, we need to talk about your—" "Oh, I can't right now, Courtney. I have something very important to do," he said, interrupting her without even looking at her. "Lauren treated me like I was a dog, Logan," she said, grabbing his arm. He rolled his eyes in annoyance while turning to Courtney somewhat impatiently. "Speak up, Courtney, be brief," he said in a dry tone. "Logan, Lauren ordered your staff not to obey me. She said if I wanted to eat to prepare my own food, that I should wash my own clothes, and said that starting tomorrow, I'll have to take care of the garden, because I'm not in a hotel." Courtney thought that by telling Logan this, it would make him angry, or turn him against Lauren. But the exact opposite happened. He became even more fascinated by Lauren. "Courtney, from what I understand, Lauren simply asked you to behave like a normal person, instead of a spoiled rich girl. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a very important meeting with my wife," he said in a serious tone. "But Logan," Courtney said with obvious frustration. "Courtney," Logan said in a deadly low tone, but audible enough for Courtney to feel the danger in his voice. "Now, Lauren has more authority in this house than I do. If my wife wants to impose rules in the house that is hers, you should obey without question, or go back to your house. Now, I'm about to be very happy. If you interrupt me again, I won't be so happy, and you don't want to see what happens when I'm not happy." In the early morning hours, Courtney got up to go to the bathroom and passed by Logan's room. Everything seemed too quiet, so she decided to put her ear to the door, but bitterly regretted it. Through the door, she could hear Logan's low, husky voice, loaded with an intensity she had never experienced with him. Just like that. Exactly like that. "My beautiful—" His voice was pure command, pure dominance, and there was something in the way he spoke that made it clear that Lauren was completely his. "Logan." Lauren's voice was a breathless whisper, surrendered, full of desire. "Please." "Please, what?" Logan asked, and there was an authority in his voice that made Courtney swallow hard. "Tell me what you want, Lauren. Use words." I want you completely," Lauren murmured, and there was a vulnerability in her voice that contrasted perfectly with his dominance. "Good girl," Logan said, his voice loaded with approval and desire. "You're mine, aren't you? Say it." "I'm yours," Lauren replied without hesitation, her voice broken. "Completely yours." "That's right. My perfect wife," Logan murmured, and the sound that followed made it clear that he was completely lost in her, that Lauren had become the center of his universe in a way that Courtney could never be. Courtney moved away from the door with a heavy heart, finally understanding that there was no place for her there. Logan wasn't just physically with Lauren, he was emotionally and completely devoted to her in a way that Courtney had never witnessed. Logan and Lauren came down for breakfast like two teenagers in love. There was no sign of Courtney. Martha said Courtney left in the early morning hours extremely irritated. "It seems you put her in her proper place, Mrs. Fairchild," Logan said proudly to Lauren during breakfast. Lauren smiled, feeling victorious and, for the first time, truly powerful. "I learned from the best," she replied, meeting his gaze with a confidence that didn't exist months ago. "Yes, you did," Logan agreed, pulling her closer to him and kissing her forehead tenderly. "And I couldn't be more proud." "Hey, my darling, if you enjoyed the way Lauren put Courtney in her place, don't forget to leave your like. That way you encourage me to bring good stories like this one." 3 months after Courtney's departure, Lauren had completely established herself as the true lady of the Fairchild mansion. Her confidence grew each day, as did her intimacy with Logan. What had begun as a marriage of convenience was transforming into something much deeper. It was a Saturday morning when Martha brought a letter that would change everything. "Mrs. Fairchild," Martha said, handing over an elegant envelope. "This arrived for you." Lauren looked at the sender and felt her heart stop. The name on the envelope was Elena Sullivan, her mother. With trembling hands, Lauren opened the letter and began to read. "My dearest Lauren, I know I have no right to write to you after all these years, but I saw in the newspaper about your marriage to Dr. Fairchild and needed to try to contact you. There are so many things you don't know, so many lies that Margaret told. I didn't abandon you, my daughter. I was forced to leave. Margaret had information about me that could destroy your life and your father's. She blackmailed me into leaving your lives, threatening to tell your father about my problems with depression and about a time when I needed medical help. At the time, that would have been enough reason for me to lose custody of you. I fought, Lauren. For years I tried to find a way to come back, but Margaret always found ways to stop me. She moved cities, changed phone numbers, made sure I could never find you. When your father died, I tried to go to the funeral, but Margaret threw me out. She said if I appeared in your life again, she would tell everyone that you weren't Robert's daughter. Yes, my dear. You are not Robert's biological daughter. Your real father is named David Chen, a wonderful man I met before I got married. When I discovered I was pregnant, Robert offered to marry me and raise you as his own daughter. He loved you as if you were really his. Margaret discovered this by going through my personal papers and used this information to control me throughout our entire marriage. When I couldn't take it anymore, she gave me a choice. Leave your life forever, or see all the truth revealed in a way that would destroy you. I chose to protect you, even if it meant you would grow up thinking I had abandoned you. Now that you're married and protected, I feel I can finally tell the truth. If you want to see me, I'll be at the Central Cafe downtown next Saturday at 3 p.m. With all my love, your mother, Elena. Lauren let the letter fall to the floor, tears flowing freely down her face. Everything made sense now. Margaret's hatred toward her, the way she always treated her like a stranger, the cruel references about her mother. Lauren? Logan appeared in the office doorway, having heard the sound of crying. What happened? She couldn't speak, just pointed to the letter on the floor. Logan picked it up and read quickly, his expression growing darker with each line. My God, he murmured, kneeling beside her. Lauren, I'm so sorry. She didn't abandon me, Lauren whispered between tears. All these years, Margaret made me believe my own mother didn't love me. Logan pulled her into his arms, holding her while she cried. We'll find her, he said determinedly. We'll go to the cafe on Saturday. And what if it's a lie? What if it's just another way to hurt me? Then we'll face it together, Logan said, kissing her forehead. But something tells me your mother is telling the truth. The following Saturday, Lauren was too nervous to eat anything. Logan insisted on accompanying her to the cafe, promising to stay discreetly at a nearby table in case she needed him. When Lauren saw the woman sitting in the corner of the cafe, she immediately knew it was her mother. She had aged, had gray hair and expression lines, but her eyes were exactly as Lauren remembered. Mom? Lauren said hesitantly, approaching the table. Elena stood up quickly, tears already running down her face. Lauren, my beautiful girl. They hugged and cried together for long minutes, years of pain and longing finally finding relief. I'm so sorry, Elena repeated. Sorry for everything you went through. They talked for hours. Elena told about the years she spent trying to find Lauren, about how she followed her life from afar through mutual acquaintances, about the relief she felt when she learned she had married someone who could protect her. Margaret told me you were dead, Lauren revealed. She said you had died in an accident. Elena closed her eyes in pain. That woman is a monster. She destroyed our family out of pure evil. But why did she hate me so much? Because you were living proof that Robert loved someone else before her. Because you were beautiful and intelligent, and her own daughters, well, weren't. Because you represented everything she could never be. Logan, who had observed the meeting from afar, finally approached when he saw that the two were calmer. Elena, he said respectfully, extending his hand. I'm Logan Fairchild, Lauren's husband. Elena studied him carefully. Thank you for taking care of my daughter. It's a privilege, Logan replied sincerely. 6 months after the reunion with her mother, Lauren stood before the mirror in her room, admiring the white dress she would wear for her real wedding ceremony. Logan had insisted on having a real ceremony, with family and friends, so they could start their marriage the right way, out of love, not convenience. You look stunning, Elena said, adjusting Lauren's veil. She had moved to a house near the mansion and was making up for lost time with her daughter. Thank you for being here, Mom, Lauren said, holding her hand. I wouldn't miss this for anything in the world. Martha knocked on the door. Mrs. Fairchild, Mr. Logan is starting to get impatient downstairs. Lauren laughed. Logan had spent the entire week anxious for the ceremony, more nervous than she was. When Lauren walked down the garden stairs where the ceremony would be held, she saw Logan waiting at the makeshift altar. He looked devastatingly handsome in his tuxedo, but it was the expression on his face that made her stop breathing. Pure and complete love. The ceremony was intimate, with only the most important people in their lives. Elena, Martha, and the house staff, some of Logan's medical colleagues and his mother, who had finally approved of her son's choice. "Lauren," Logan said during his personal vows, "you came into my life when I didn't even know I was lost. You taught me that love isn't a weakness, but the greatest strength that exists. I promise to protect you, respect you, and love you for the rest of my life." "Logan," Lauren replied, her voice firm despite the tears, "you saved me from a life without hope and showed me who I really am. You gave me a family, a home, and a love I didn't even know existed. I promise to stand by your side, challenge you when necessary, and love you unconditionally." When the judge declared them husband and wife, Logan kissed Lauren with all the passion and tenderness he felt, and the guests applauded emotionally. During the reception, Logan pulled Lauren to dance. "Mrs. Fairchild," he murmured in her ear, "how does it feel to be a married woman? For real?" "I feel complete," Lauren replied. "For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I should be." "And where is that?" "In your arms." Logan smiled and spun her around. "Then that's where you'll stay forever." Later that night, after all the guests had left, Logan and Lauren went up to their room, which they now officially shared. "I have something for you," Logan said, picking up a small box. Inside was a necklace with a heart-shaped pendant, engraved with the date they met. "So you never forget the day our real story began," he said, placing the necklace around her neck. "As if I could forget," Lauren smiled. "It was the day my life really began." They kissed with the passion of newlyweds and the tenderness of true love. Years later, Lauren would write in her diary, "Sometimes what seems to be the end is just the beginning in disguise. Margaret thought she was selling me like merchandise, but actually gave me the greatest gift of my life. Logan. True love didn't come to me the way I imagined. It wasn't a charming prince on a white horse. It was a real man, with flaws and complexities, who saw me as I really was and decided that was enough. He taught me that I was worth much more than I ever imagined, that I deserved to be protected, respected, and loved. And in return, I gave him my heart completely. Our story began as a business deal, but transformed into the greatest love story I've ever lived. And every day, when I wake up beside him, I thank Margaret for being cruel enough to push me into the arms of the man who would become my salvation and my home." Lauren closed the diary and looked out the office window, where she could see Logan playing in the garden with their 2-year-old daughter, Elena Fairchild, named in honor of the grandmother who was now an integral part of their lives. She smiled, placing her hand over her belly where their second child was growing, and knew that her story had found the perfect ending. Not because everything was perfect, but because it was real, it was hers, and it was filled with love. Margaret had tried to break her spirit, but only managed to forge it into something stronger. And Lauren Fairchild, wife, mother, reunited daughter, and fulfilled woman, knew that some stories are worth all the pain that preceded them. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to comment what you thought and subscribe to the channel. Until the next story.